Today, a federal jury in Oakland took less than 2 hours to throw out Elon Musk's lawsuit against Sam Altman, OpenAI, and Microsoft. Every single claim was dismissed. The 9-member advisory jury ruled unanimously that Musk waited too long to file, finding his case fell outside the 3-year statute of limitations. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers immediately adopted the verdict and tossed the case. The trial that Silicon Valley had been watching for months ended not with a dramatic ruling on the merits of Musk's accusations, but with a calendar technicality, which is either a devastating irony or a completely appropriate outcome depending on which side you were on. To understand why any of this matters, you need to understand what this lawsuit was actually about and how it got so strange. In 2015, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and Ilya Sutskever co-founded OpenAI as a nonprofit whose stated mission was to develop artificial intelligence safely for the benefit of humanity. Musk donated approximately $38 million to get it off the ground. Then in 2017, OpenAI built a system that beat the world's best human players at Dota 2, and suddenly the ambitions of the organization expanded dramatically. According to testimony from Greg Brockman, Musk called a meeting at a mansion he had just purchased near San Francisco and proposed converting OpenAI from a nonprofit into a for-profit company with himself as CEO and majority shareholder. The other founders declined. According to Brockman's account under oath, Musk stood up, stormed around the table, and when his proposal was rejected with a counteroffer of equal equity, grabbed a painting that Ilya Sutskever had commissioned as a peace offering and stormed toward the door, then turned around and asked when the others would be departing from OpenAI. 6 months later, Musk stopped donating and left the board. Then OpenAI did exactly what Musk had proposed, just without him. In 2019, they bolted a for-profit subsidiary onto the nonprofit structure, took $1 billion investment from Microsoft, then a $13 billion investment, and eventually approached a valuation of nearly $1 trillion. In 2024, Musk filed his lawsuit claiming Altman and Brockman had stolen a charitable organization, breached a charitable trust, and that Microsoft had aided and abetted them. He sought up to $134 billion in damages, the removal of Altman and Brockman from their roles, and the unwinding of the for-profit conversion entirely. The weeks of trial that followed produced a document dump that reads like a Silicon Valley novel. Emails between Musk and Altman where they debated what to name the company, with Musk preferring Freethink and Altman preferring Axon before settling on OpenAI. Internal memos from 2017 showing Musk had proposed merging OpenAI into Tesla to solve its funding problems. Text messages from the November 2023 moment when Sam Altman was fired from the company he ran, including his message to interim CEO Mira Murati, asking simply, "Can you indicate directionally, good or bad?" To which Murati replied, "Directionally very bad." 4 days later, Altman was reinstated, with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella having watched $13 billion of his company's investment swing in the wind, while describing the entire episode as, in his words, a sort of amateurish city as far as I'm concerned. Also entered into evidence the fact that Musk himself admitted under oath that his company xAI had used OpenAI model outputs in its own training data. That admission became a central piece of OpenAI's argument that this lawsuit was not about rescuing a charity, but about attempting to kneecap a competitor after failing to gain control of it. OpenAI's lead attorney, William Savitt, put it directly to reporters after the verdict. "You brought your claims too late, and you did it because you were sitting on them to use them as a weapon of a competitor who can't compete in the marketplace." The statute of limitations argument that ended the case rests on a simple question. When did Musk know that OpenAI was pursuing a for-profit structure? OpenAI's lawyers argued he knew in 2019 when the for-profit subsidiary was created, meaning the 3-year window to file a lawsuit had closed before he ever filed one in 2024. Musk's team countered that. The harm continued to accumulate through the 2025 recapitalization and the ongoing enrichment of insiders. The jury took less than 2 hours to side with OpenAI on this question. On the courthouse steps, Musk posted on X that the decision was a calendar technicality and that there is no question to anyone following the case in detail that Altman and Brockman did in fact enrich themselves by stealing a charity, he announced he would appeal. What the verdict does not settle is the underlying question Musk raised, which is genuinely uncomfortable regardless of the legal outcome. OpenAI was founded as a nonprofit specifically because its founders believed, on the record, that advanced artificial intelligence was too consequential to be controlled by any one person or for-profit corporation. It is now approaching $1 trillion valuation. Its president owns roughly $30 billion of equity in the company. Its CEO owns no disclosed equity, but runs a company whose success has made his personal portfolio of other ventures significantly more valuable. And Microsoft has invested more than $13 billion into it. Whether that transformation was a betrayal of the founding mission or a necessary adaptation to compete in a world that required billions in capital to build frontier models is a question the jury was never asked to answer. The case was dismissed on statute of limitations grounds before anyone ruled on the merits. Musk's appeal will likely argue that the claims were timely because the harm continued through the 2025 recapitalization. Whether that argument succeeds in a higher court is an open question, and whether the broader underlying allegations about OpenAI's conversion ever get a ruling on the merits depends entirely on what happens next in the appellate process. What is clear today is that Sam Altman walks out of a federal courthouse having defeated a $134 billion lawsuit filed by the richest man on the planet, and that OpenAI's for-profit structure remains intact and will continue toward what is expected to be one of the largest IIPOs in American history. If this trial changed how you think about who actually controls the future of artificial intelligence and whether the people who built it are doing it the right way, subscribe and leave a comment below about whether you think the original OpenAI mission was genuinely abandoned or pragmatically adapted, because I want to know which side of that argument you land on.